So, do you like knowing stuff? Like a lot of random stuff gathered from books or people. But being a wizard is too nerdy, maybe too uncool, probably a bit overdone.
Be silent. Keep your forked tongue behind your teeth.
Well, maybe you should play the College of Lore Bard. Hey everyone, Debo Pringle here, and today we're back with the Should You Play series. A series dedicated to going over every single subclass in D&D 5th edition and whether or not you should play it. And today's video, we're talking about the College of Lore subclass for bards. And the first thing we do when we go over a subclass in the series is we look at the theme. So looking at our theme, we find that a College of Lore bard knows something about most things. They collect this knowledge from sources ranging as far as scholarly tomes to peasant tales. Using our gift of knowledge and charisma, we like to lead people to reconsider what they once believed to be true. Maybe even going as far as making them question their faith in the local temple or even their loyalty to the king. Our loyalty lies in the pursuit of beauty and truth, and not to the fealty to a monarch or following the tenets of a deity. And if you keep one of these bards as a herald or an advisor, definitely expect honesty rather than politics. So overall, our theme here is we like to gather knowledge and the truth of things, and we're really not afraid to share it. We like to root out corruption and lies of powerful officials. So we really kind of are a bard of the people, a bard of the truth. Maybe there's a little bit of Gandalf in there. What I really like about this theme is that it's actually open-ended enough to insert our backstory into it. And given that open-endedness, it can really fit most backgrounds into this sort of a thing. There are a lot of different spins that you can put on this theme, which I think is really cool, and it definitely feels appropriate for a bard subclass. With that theme in mind, do our mechanics back it up? So we get a few things at level 3, the first one being bonus proficiencies. So for bonus proficiencies, when we choose the subclass at level 3, we gain proficiency in 3 skills of our choice. Reading that probably doesn't excite you very much. But what I do like about this is that it actually backs up our theme pretty well. Our theme doesn't specify what lore we've studied, what knowledge we've gathered. So with this bonus proficiencies that we get at level 3, it allows us to pick up some more proficiencies and skills that actually back up our character concept. This also means that 2 different College of Lore bards could pick totally different skills, and through that they can be a lot different from one another in their concepts. It's just a nice little boost that helps us really nail in our character concept. Again, it won't make or break a theme necessarily, but it'll definitely help, which is cool. Not too bad for start at level 3.
But wait! There's more!
We also get cutting words at level 3. Okay, cutting words. If anyone could actually cut words, it'd be a bard, I suppose. Cutting words. We learn to use our wit to distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. Long story short here, a creature that we can see within 60 feet of us makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll. We can use our reaction and expend one of our uses of our bardic inspiration, rolling that die and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll. Important thing to note here is you can choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the DM determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fails, or before the creature deals its damage. It's also important to remember that if the creature can't hear or is immune to being charmed, it can't be affected by cutting words. This is one of the strongest parts of the College of Lore subclass. You can very easily turn a hit into a miss. You could even assist your party member with a grapple check, and you can even reduce damage enough to maybe even save yourself from going unconscious. Not only that, but it gives us more chances to use our bardic inspiration dice and actually get to use it outside of our turn. But keep in mind, it does take a reaction, so it's not like we can spam this a bunch. And at this point at level 3, our inspiration will still be a little more limited, at least for a few levels, until we get to level 5, where we get Font of Inspiration, where we get our inspirations back on a short rest rather than a long. While this might not immediately strike you as being something that's on theme, I actually think it does. With our bonus proficiencies from level 3, and you include that with Jack of all trades that we get at level 2, we've got a lot of pretty good knowledge on most things in the world, especially things that we encounter. So combine that knowledge with our wit, we're able to do exactly as our ability says. Distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence out of our enemies, because we know so many things that we probably know what to say to whatever we're facing in combat to distract them. It might look something like this.
Better sit your ass on back, cause I ain't no holler back gnome. I ain't no holler back gnome.
Or this.
Do you really want to hurt me? Do
but more likely than not, it'll probably look something like this.
I don't wanna die. Get your wings off me, baby. Get your wings off me, baby.
So that's a pretty strong start for level 3, but let's see what else we got. At level 6, we get additional magical secrets. Between this and bonus proficiencies at level 3, I bet our level 14 ability is called Literally Just Inspire Yourself. And I mean, I guess the theme of our subclass is to be honest and to the point, so I guess the names of our subclass abilities are pretty much in line with our theme. So additional magical secrets, we get it at 6th level, and you learn 2 spells of your choice from any class. A spell you choose must be of a level you can cast, as shown on the bard table, or a cantrip. The chosen spells count as bard spells for you, but do not count against the number of bard spells you know. Once again, our subclass feature is left pretty open with how we'd like to use it, and it's really good, again. One of the bard's biggest strengths in 5th edition is their versatility, and this only improves it. And I mean, any spell in the game, it kind of gives you. To be fair, you could take Lightning Bolt with this. This subclass feature fits in great with our theme. Again, we get to choose what lore we've studied, and therefore we get to choose what kind of spells that would come with that. The theme of this subclass is almost becoming the lack of a theme, and it allowing you to pick the path, pick your own character concept, pick your theme, which I think is super cool. Keep in mind you can change the spells picked up from additional magical secrets to a different spell, but that spell can only be on the bard spell list, and it cannot be on a different class's spell list. Again, super cool, super on theme, and mechanically strong. And last but not least, at 14th level, we get Literally Inspire Yourself. Peerless Skill. Alright, so Peerless Skill, starting at 14th level, when you make an ability check, you can expend one of your Bardic Inspiration die. You roll your Bardic Inspiration die and add the number rolled to your ability check. And you can do so after you roll the die for the ability check, but before the DM tells you whether you succeed or fail. This is also pretty good. So when you read it, you might be like, why is it good? It seems kind of underwhelming for a 14th level subclass feature. For starters, what's nice about it is we don't need to pre-cast our Bardic Inspiration die by just providing it to someone that we think will use it. We just simply get to use it immediately when we think we'll need it. This can be very good in pivotal moments, such as an important social encounter or even like a skill challenge. But I think where you can get the most out of Peerless Skill is if you take Counterspell with your magical secrets. Obviously with Counterspell, if we try and counter a spell of a higher level than our Counterspell, we need to make a spell casting ability check. And this kind of check is considered an ability check, so therefore we can use Peerless Skill on this. So it can come in clutch in our most dire need in combat. And this also works the same with Dispel Magic. Again, it just simply uses our Bardic Inspiration die. It doesn't even take our reaction. In a lot of situations, I don't think this will seem super impactful, but there's going to be moments where you're like, thank God I had this. It's not necessarily directly tied to our theme, but I still like it. I think it's a cool subclass feature, and at least it makes the Skill Monkey a little better at skills too. So that's the overview of all the subclass features. Most of them are on theme, and there isn't one that feels super weak or even not very useful. So then the question becomes, what kind of characters can we make with this subclass? I would be remiss to fail to mention a certain gnome College of Lore bard.
I will sing a song of rest, and it goes a little something like, "It's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna make you feel real good."
We could also play a bard who studies in the lore of nature. We could possibly take Conjure Animals or Bark Skin with our additional magical secrets. And then with our bonus proficiencies, we could take something like Survival, Nature, and Animal Handling too to further cement our theme. And then maybe our backstory is something like we come from a druidic village deep in the forest. But eventually a corrupted druid came into power and took over the village. We escaped before they cut off our village from the rest of society. And we ended up studying at a bard college in a nearby major city in hopes of rooting out this corrupted druid. Another character idea could be someone who has studied ancient civilizations and people. Maybe they hunt after knowledge of ancient tombs and catacombs that contain relics of ancient times. And maybe we get hired by descendants of those ancient people to go and retrieve those ancient relics of their family. We use magic to find our way through these tombs and past traps. And maybe we use a whip as a weapon. So those are just a few fun potential character ideas. With this subclass, you honestly have a lot of options. Alright, so now I'll move on to discussing some feats we like with this subclass. For our feats here, it's kind of like an open bag here, and it'll likely depend on what your character concept is. For example, with our College of Lore bard that specializes in ancient history and delving into tombs to retrieve lost artifacts, a cool feat for them would be a Dungeon Delver feat. It's not the most mechanically advantageous feat, but it does fit in well with our theme. And I think you'll notice that with this subclass, as there isn't necessarily a certain specific way you have to go with this. I would just recommend going through what feats might fit your character concept. But overall, at the very least, there are a few feats that will just work well with you because you are a bard. Warcaster is obviously great. As a bard, we'll probably find ourselves concentrating on spells quite often, so using Warcaster, that'll help us keep our concentration on spells. Another standout feat for bards is Inspiring Leader. Not only does it just fit in with the theme of being a bard, but it's also mechanically good because we get to provide temporary hit points equal to our level plus our charisma modifier up to 6 creatures. And that can be done every short rest. A player in my group is a level 6 bard with a 20 charisma. So when he uses this feat with all the 5 party members, overall that's 55 temporary hit points. That's a lot of temporary hit points, so I'd really recommend looking at Inspiring Leader for this subclass. So again, those are just a few fun feats that I'd recommend just in general as bards, but I think if you're looking for something that is subclass specific, it'll really just depend on your character concept, what you would look for there. And of course, while looking at any subclass with this series, we want to go over the pros and cons. Starting off with our pros, I think this class is very strong mechanically. All of its features are either decent or very strong. I would say cutting words and additional magical secrets definitely take the cake here. Another pro of this subclass is that it doesn't necessarily pigeonhole you down a certain theme. There is a lot you can do with this subclass, and I honestly feel like you could play a College of Lore bard twice and make them entirely different characters. Those are just a few of the pros. Do we have any cons? There is one con, for me at least, that comes to mind, and this one is pretty subjective. The one con that does stand out to me with this subclass is that I don't think it's new player friendly. I think that because I think to get the absolute most out of this subclass, you need to have a good understanding of the game. Mainly because of our additional magical secrets and getting access to all these other classes' spell lists, you need to have a pretty good understanding of what to look for. It's certainly an overwhelming choice, and I can imagine a new player picking something that doesn't necessarily work very well. Obviously, your dungeon master or an experienced player could help them through this process, and DM willing maybe even allow you to change it to a different spell that's on a different class's spell list. So this con can be fixed, but again, I can see this potentially being an issue for a new player having a theme that is so wide open like this. So the question is, should you play this subclass? I think if you want to play a bard subclass that is mechanically strong but also has the room for you to create your own theme and your own character concept, this is perfect. There is a lot of roleplay potential, there are the obvious very many mechanical strengths, and I really do believe that you have endless character concepts that you can make with this subclass. Well, that's it for the College of Lore bard subclass should you play video. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to check out the Path of the Berserker Barbarian subclass video we did last week. But keep in mind, there is a new one out every Thursday. Next week, we are covering the Knowledge Domain Cleric. Hope to see you there. Take care.